Hi there, I'm Mike Creevy for Homeschool Connections, and with me today is Gary Michuta to talk about his Homeschool Connection courses. Gary, thanks so much for coming today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Well, so tell us all here a little bit more about what you teach for Homeschool Connections.
Well, I got a lot on the plate. I'm going to be going through the Baltimore Catechism this fall. I got my apologetic classes that I'm going to be doing. So, it's a smattering of catechesis and defending the faith.
Very cool. How many, well, what age ranges here do you have for the apologetics courses?
Well, I have an intro to apologetics for middle school. So I would say probably seventh or eighth graders. Uh, we have a lot of fun in that class, and basically, I give the basics.
Hmm.
Then once they accomplish that, then they can move on to other more advanced classes. I also do the exact same class for high school students, except I don't do as many like fun stuff, I guess. Or I should put it this way: I do fun stuff, but on a high school level. So let's put it
Gotcha.
that way. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
And
very good.
yeah, so probably the earliest would be seventh, eighth grade.
Okay. And for I imagine a lot of folks watching this have probably heard of you before, might be pretty familiar with your work. But for those who aren't, what about your own kind of background and your own work has kind of led to these courses, or uniquely kind of qualifies you to take these particular topics on?
Yeah, well, I've been a professional apologist since the early 1990s, which means basically I ran a 401c3 organization, helped Catholics explain, defend the faith. I debated some pretty high level anti-Catholics, both on radio and in person. I've written several books on apologetics. So I've been in the trenches, and I've also
Right.
been in the research area for defending the faith. And this is basically how I live. I eat, breathe, sleep apologetics, and I love it. So my main task for the classes is to kind of pass on that love, because for me, apologetics is one of the most exciting things in the world. I mean,
Sure.
and the beautiful thing is, like, if it's done right, it can also help you grow in the faith. And so,
Right.
yeah, so I do everything I can to promote it, and that's why I love doing the classes for homeschool.
Well, sure, and I imagine now I don't get into in my classes so specifically apologetics, per se, but I imagine in your teaching of that, it must be a really thrilling experience to really try to, like you said, imbue that in them or help them to see that there are good reasons, right, or to believe what we believe, or how to defend our faith against those who might come up with objections. Does that come up a lot, like objections that you go through with the students
Oh yeah, yeah,
that their friends
absolutely.
and peers might share with them, kind of thing?
Yeah, in fact, I can't tell you how many times I usually give my email address, as if you ever run into questions, I'll be your lifeline. And so I'll get emails, I'll get text messages from students that are talking to non-Catholics, and they'll ask me like what verse to cite or something like that.
Sure.
And even after they graduate from Homeschool Connections, occasionally I will get emails from former students who need a lifeline. That somebody asked them a challenging question or objection, and I'll try to help them out via email. So yeah, I tell my students it's one of those few courses that you're going to use throughout your life, and chances are you're probably using right now.
Right.
You know,
Well, and hopefully they are. Is there anything in particular? I'm just curious, that you see becoming more and more prevalent in some of the questions that they ask, or some of the issues that they're facing, maybe in that high school or middle school age range.
um, yeah, well, there's a lot of interaction with Protestants, so
Hmm.
that's always there, and there's a lot more exposure to atheism than
Hmm.
it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. So as I come up with new apologetic classes, I try to anticipate, some of the more common objections, so we could cover that. But um, generally, I try to cover the whole gamut. There are a few classes I do specific deep dives into, uh,
Sure.
but generally, yeah, I try to run the gamut, and then of course you always get questions during class, and that helps too, to figure out where
Right.
I should focus to help the kids.
When you never know what's coming.
Yeah,
They bring this up
exactly.
a
Yeah.
bit. What when you mentioned some of those other deep dives, what's maybe a particular topic or two of interest for you that you like to? I'm sure they all are, but that you
Yeah.
like to dive into a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, good question. Well, I this summer I did a boot camp for Jehovah Witnesses and Mormons,
Oh
so
wow.
which was a lot of fun because they're so strange. Uh, but areas I like. Of course, I've been working mainly with Catholic Protestant dialogues over the
Hmm.
decades, so that's very familiar. Recently, I've been focusing on how you can believe the scriptures, how you can believe the gospels, what information do we have about Jesus, and the Jewish background to our
Mm,
Catholic beliefs. I find that really, really exciting.
sure. Yeah, that's something I've seen more and more out there on those topics, and was just talking to my brother about that the other day. Actually, it's really helps kind of bring it all together,
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah,
Um,
fascinating.
well, is there anything else in particular you want to share that you're excited for this coming year, maybe with your any live course stuff in particular you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I get excited every every year. I
Yeah.
love the intro classes because you have kids there being exposed to this for the first time, and I get all the wows and oohs and stuff. Uh, I'm, and then there's the catechesis that we do with the Baltimore Catechism, which is
Hmm.
fun, and it is really helpful for me because uh, defending the faith is really just a subset of catechesis, right?
Sure.
Because you have to know the faith in order to share the faith. So that's fun, just as a refresher to go over the Baltimore Catechism,
Sure.
and yeah, and you know some of the I think I'm going to have a course also on now I can't remember. I'm having a senior moment of a recent book that I just put out. Um,
Sure.
so I'm always trying to update and figure out new ways to
Yes.
present. So yeah, good stuff. I can't wait.
Well, and I don't know if there's anything in addition to just I mean your page. Obviously, we have over on the Homeschool Connections instructors page there where people can learn more. Is there any other resources they should check out, or ways that students or parents can get in touch with you, or see what else you have coming up?
Sure. Yeah. Well, my website is handsonapologetics.com. I just had a brand new book released called The Gospel Truth by Emmaus Road Press, which probably isn't in my up. I got to update my bio. And yeah, my email address is just gmichuta@hotmail.com. And I
Great.
get questions from parents all the time because you want to pair your son or daughter with the proper level of instruction. And most people aren't really familiar with apologetics in terms of how high of a level their student needs to be. So if you ever have any questions, just email me. I'll be glad to
Wonderful.
answer them.
Wonderful. Well, Gary, thank you so much again for stopping by today and sharing about your Homeschool Connections courses.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you doing this for us.
Hey, God bless you.